Farm boy, Northwest Minnesota, burned the battery in the car radio, dreaming about being the disc jockey on the air. Not only was I the morning DJ, but I was also the news director, and I was also the sports director. So we're in this little area. They don't give us chairs. You have to sit on the floor. I finally turned to the Secret Service agent and I said, would you mind if just for a minute I could stretch my leg out over the taped area? And he said something to the effect of, well, you can, but it wouldn't be good for you. I will do a candidacy story, for instance, becoming the next dog catcher or whatever. I will never put that story out unless I list all the other candidates for dog catcher. I balance it out. You got to have balance.
Welcome to Southaven Business Beat. Business and community leaders talk with us to provide invaluable resources to aid the business community.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Southaven Business Beat, where we sit down with local business owners, community leaders, and learn about what they do and the story behind why they do those things. Today, I have the distinct honor of sitting down with Mr. none other than Bob Bakken, who has been in journalism for just a few years. And he's going to tell us about his life and just his experiences throughout the years doing journalism and broadcasting. Bob, thanks so much for joining us. I'm excited to hear your story.
Well, thanks for having me, Kristen. I really appreciate it. Yeah, a few as in maybe 50. When you go back to starting on radio and getting paid to be talking on the radio for the first time, was about 1973. And I still keep doing it because I enjoy it. And people most of the time like what I hear, or in this case, have to write about. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's incredible. So you started when you were like 2 then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, right.
So what got you started in this? I mean, because clearly it's a passion because you've held on to it for this long. You have found your place in life. What got you started in journalism and broadcasting?
Farm boy, Northwest Minnesota. Like to listen to the radio. Growing up as a kid, sit in the car radio and burn the battery in the car radio, listening to my favorite radio stations, which included one in Winnipeg, Manitoba, because I lived about 3 hours south of Winnipeg. And so we would pick up some of the Canadian stations. And I just enjoyed dreaming about being the disc jockey on the air. And sure enough, some good opportunities happened. For instance, a broadcast school in Minnesota, which was tuition free for high school graduates at the time. I was able to go there and live with my aunt and uncle while I was going to school there. After that, our hometown had a radio station, and they hired me out of school. And so I was there, was able to finally fill in as a play-by-play announcer as well as a disc jockey and that kind of stuff. And that kind of led me on my way. And from there, you bounce around the different stations, try to improve yourself and try to get a little bigger and better up the ladder. And I think on the journalism side, in radio, in small town radio in particular, you can't be just one person. You can't be the DJ. You have to be the DJ in something else. You have to be in my case, not only was I the morning DJ, but I was also the news director, and I was also the sports director, which means I had to go cover city council meetings and county meetings, and also then broadcast the high school football, hockey, basketball, baseball games, as well. You had to do those kind of things at that level. I kind of fell into it and I enjoyed it. And it just kind of continued from there, continuing to do some sports casting. But then when I moved to Iowa, again, had to pick up on the news side and cover some things news-wise as well as sports side and stuff like that. Just kind of fed my interest for current events. We go to museums when we're on vacation. We want to know about the history of the different places we go to. We want to know about where we are and where we've been. And I'm going to continue to do that here in my next step as well. But just always interested in current events in the area, that kind of thing. And it just kind of fell into it. And from broadcasting, going into television where you're not necessarily on the air, but you have to be the one writing the script that the anchors and the reporters then tell on the air. I kind of fell into the writing side of it, and then from there into newspaper in DeSoto Times and DeSoto County News, and now what I'm doing here in my next leap into my career.
At the Southaven Chamber of Commerce, our mission has always been to create more opportunities for our members and community to share their story. And this podcast is just one of many ways that we do just that. But we couldn't make it happen without Pure Focus Media, the creative team behind the scenes helping make us and a lot of local businesses to look and sound their best. Pure Focus Media is on a mission to make high-quality video and content creation accessible to businesses of all sizes. From strategy to production, they help tell your story, attract more leads, and grow through the power of video. If you're ready to level up your brand, you need to visit purefocus.media and schedule your strategy call today. That's incredible. So you have done a little bit of everything in every aspect of that lane. And that's incredible because I hadn't even thought about the fact of the people that are behind the scenes writing what the reporters are talking about on TV. So even though you're not an anchor, you're the one that's going out and experiencing all the things. Mm-hmm. And even from an early stage with you working in the small time radio, you having to go cover all of those things, that gave you really early on experience with what you're doing now, even with the newspaper, because we see you everywhere. Mm-hmm. Like you're covering all the stuff. So what would you say is one of your best memories from early on that you really loved?
Oh, my. I can tell a couple of funny stories, I guess. One, absolutely, for sure. Living in eastern Iowa, my kids going to a small town elementary school, but they were big on reading, for instance. And President Bush and First Lady Barbara Bush were doing a program at the time nationally to promote reading. Principal thought it would be a good idea to try and write to Miss Bush, Barbara Bush, and see if she would come and provide the school with an award that they had earned. And sure enough, she did it.
Oh, wow.
She did it. And so here comes, Barbara Bush and the entourage and the whole thing, part of her trip to Iowa. And as a reporter, in things like that, you're usually set in an area. And in this case, it being the First Lady, there are Secret Service people that are all over the place. Absolutely. So we're in this little area. They don't give us chairs. You have to sit on the floor in this taped, roped off area. And we had a long wait for her to actually show up. And so I'm getting tired and the bones are creaking and everything like that. And I finally turned to the Secret Service agent and I said, would you mind if just for a minute I could stretch my leg out over the taped area and just kind of stretch for a minute? And he said something to the effect of, well, you can, but it wouldn't be good for you.
All right, then.
So, okay, I'll continue with the painful sitting in my crouched position and everything. But I have met presidents, I've met governors, I've met sports personalities and things like that a lot. And it does kind of come to me and go, Bob, you get to do and meet these people that a lot of people don't get to do and meet and talk to. And that's kind of impressed on me a lot. So to be able to pick out one in particular, I think of Barbara Bush still every once in a while when I'm going through Iowa and that kind of thing. But covered murder trials and covered, a lot of ribbon cuttings of businesses, seeing businesses grow. As I'm preparing for this, I'm thinking to myself, I live not far from Silo Square. Silo Square was a sunflower field when I first moved to Southaven, and look at it right now. and things like that. Tanger outlets. I covered the groundbreaking of Tanger outlets. I still have the little shovel that they gave out, things like that. I have seen teams win state championships, for instance. North Point Christian girls volleyball, one of the last ones. Olive Branch girls basketball, one of the last ones. Watching that kind of thing and being able to share in those moments and try to project those moments to my readers. Just lots of things like that. And it's really been great.
I bet you have a ton of incredible stories. We could do hours of film just on that. That's awesome. So with your broadcasting background and all of the things you've done, what are some of the changes you've seen over the years since the 70s to now? There's got to be incredible strides and changes.
Well, I think you asked me those kind of questions, and I think back to when I was in broadcast school, and we had an old clankety-clank teletype from United Press International typing out everything. And I remember that I was on the air the night that my selective service lottery picks were made. They still ran the lottery where you're number one, you're number two, you're number three. And I happened to be watching the dates come across on the United Press International teletype. And I see August 5th, number 2. And I go, okay, I guess we're getting ready to go on. This is the Vietnam era, and you're thinking about, am I going to be called up and that kind of thing. This happened to be the first year that they did not call up young men out of the selective service. They still held the lottery. Just in case. But if they had actually called, I would have been probably sent to Vietnam. And but that all happened because I'm watching a clankety-clank teletype from United Press International spitting out all that information. Well, that teletype was eventually replaced by a computer where now you could actually insert your own information and text into a story that they had. And it goes from cassette tape recorders, for instance. One of my first times at Stax Museum, you go through the museum and see the recording studios and everything. And I look inside the recording studio and I look and see the Magnacorder tape machine is one that we used on the air at my radio station in Minnesota. The cassette recorder in this black box type thing. I actually used that to record interviews and things like that. And I'm going, my gosh, that now we're talking real history here, and those kind of things. And then from there to the digital age where now you're recording off your phone and there's transcribing apps and things like that. It has changed so much, and it's really been kind of impressive to see, I think, and see it all happen.
That's incredible. I can't even imagine just the nostalgia of it, walking through Stax and seeing that and stuff that you probably hadn't seen in 15, 20 years and getting to re-experience it again.
And yet I saw that Magnacorder tape machine, and I remember I used to be able to, I had to teach a 4-year college broadcasting graduate how to thread the machine. And here I am, a 1-year kid out of broadcast school. And so this is how you do it. You thread it in through here and that kind of thing. And
So you alluded a minute ago to a new endeavor where you're headed. So DeSoto County News, you spent about 6 years there. Mm-hmm. Where are you headed now?
I am about to start as editor of the South Reporter weekly newspaper in Holly Springs in Marshall County.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a position that I did not seek, but it was a position that maybe kind of sought me. And there's always those kind of stories that run with these kind of things. My wife is a teacher's assistant at Pleasant Hill Elementary School in Olive Branch. I like to say that in all the time that we've lived here, she's the only one who's been able to keep a job. Because I've gone from the Mississippi River Kings to television to newspaper to internet news and now back to print journalism. But She showed me one day a text that she had gotten from a friend of hers who happens to live in the Holly Springs area. And she said, the text said, they're looking for someone at the South Reporter. Maybe Bob should apply. And Jean showed that to me. And I'm never one to say no, point of my hand to anything. Yeah. I've got to say no what I'm saying no to before I say no. I try never to say never. And maybe that's what has carried me from broadcast to print to everything else that I've done. I've always been willing to try new things. So I said, okay, let me look into this a little bit. I happen to know someone who used to work at the South Reporter, who is now the public information officer for Holly Springs School District, and who I've worked with before. And I called him up. I called him up expecting for him to talk me out of it. Oh, you don't want to make that move. No, you don't. That's not probably a good decision for you to go. Instead, he's saying, you really ought to take a look at this. You should really look at it a little bit further. And so I go, okay. He gave me a number of one of the owners who I called, and we chatted for a little bit. And he said, I'd like to set up a meeting with the other two owners. There are three people who, in the Calhoun County, Oxford, and former Ole Miss journalism professor who own the South Reporter and a couple of other newspapers in the area. I said, let's sit down, let's have a meeting and chat a little bit. And so we did. I drove down to Oxford one day and we talked for a little while. And they seemed to like what I was telling them. They said, we really think we need you. We need you is kind of the message that they gave me. They are going through some changes, with some people retiring, and they want to kick up, the presentation in the paper and everything. They said, we really think that you can be the one to do this. It's the message that I got back.
That's incredible.
And so then sure enough, 2 days later, I get an offer. And I go, this, like The Godfather, this is an offer I can't refuse. And so I said, yep, let's do that. And so day of this recording is my first official day on the clock. I've been down there for a week, starting to get to know people and try to, meet some people and sat in on my first supervisors meeting this morning. Last couple of weeks ago was my first Holly Springs alderman meeting. We also cover the Byhalia area, so I'm starting to get to know some people with the chamber in Byhalia and to try to get to know that area, much like I've tried to get to know DeSoto County and Southaven the time I've been here. So. Absolutely. That's going to be the next thing. I've already had my first column in the newspaper, and I think you'll see some stories this week that I've written for them.
I can't wait to see more with what you're doing over there. What is your vision for where the newspaper is headed, and what does that look like? You said they're making some changes. What are some of the ideas that you have that you're bringing in with this new perspective?
Well, we're going to need some new people to replace some retiring people. We have a reporter who's been there for about 22 years. She wants to retire. We have a production manager who is going to retire here at the end of April. So we're going to need some manpower. But I think that gives us the opportunities to be able to continue to be a voice for Marshall County and Holly Springs. People know and respect the South Reporter. They know that is their primary source of information. We want to continue to make that the source of information for Marshall County and for Holly Springs. And I think we're going to see a lot of things happening between DeSoto County and Marshall County. There's a lot of things that have been happening in the Byhalia area in Marshall County of new industry, new growth in that area. And you're going to have people from DeSoto County going to work there. Yes. And some of the economic benefit of having those particular locations, even if they are in Byhalia, they're close enough to the DeSoto County line. That's going to trickle back into DeSoto County. I don't see it as a hard, fast county line end of everything. This is a growing region, and Marshall County is going to be part of it.
At the Southaven Chamber of Commerce, our mission has always been to bring more opportunities to our members and to our community, and this podcast is one of the many ways that we do just that. But we couldn't be able to do what we do without the support of our sponsor, Wisdom Integrators. They're the strategic tech partner that makes it possible for businesses to work smarter and not harder. Wisdom Integrators helps organizations harness that power of technology by designing tailored solutions for workflow, automation, process improvement, and digital transformation. For small businesses or large enterprises, they bridge the gap between the vision and the execution. Are you ready to scale up your efficiency and impact? Then you need to come and visit wisdomintegrators.com to schedule your consultation today. Absolutely. You spoke earlier about the growth at Snowden, but the growth of DeSoto County is just everywhere. I mean, just hitting those lines that don't exist because it is overflowing, because Byhalia and Holly Springs are really starting to expand with tons of growth. I know there's another Amazon that's coming in out that direction already as well, and just tons of growth and opportunities there. And that's one of the things that we've talked about at the Chamber forever, is that business and commerce blur lines, blur state lines, county lines. We've got members from Memphis. We have members that are in Byhalia. We have members in Tipton County that come down here because they do business here. So it really doesn't matter where you are in this region. It all interconnects all the time.
And we're in a perfect area if we allow ourselves to be part of that blurred area, like you say. I lived in Sioux City, Iowa for a better part of about 20, 25 years. And we called our area Siouxland because we were right on the border with North Sioux City, South Dakota, and South Sioux City, Nebraska. And everything that happened in North Sioux City, South Dakota, and Dakota Dunes affected what happened in Sioux City. Everything that happened in South Sioux City, Nebraska affected what happened in Dakota Dunes and Sioux City. So we embraced that area as Siouxland. I think we do here to a degree with the Mid-South region. But I think that sometimes that state line needs to be blurred a little bit more, at least economically. We can go into that other thing another time. But economically, what happens north of the border benefits what happens south of the border. Absolutely. What happens in Arkansas benefits Tennessee and Mississippi if we allow it to.
Yes, and that can go both good and bad, but the rewards of it far outweigh.
Exactly.
And we have so many that live here, that work there, that it's impossible for it to not happen, whether we want it to or not.
Mm-hmm. So. Exactly. I mean, people will ask, "You're going all the way to Holly Springs?" And I will go, "Well, me going to Holly Springs from Southaven is about like me being in Southaven going to Cordova or Lakeland or Arlington or something like that. There's really no difference." But
a little bit faster, probably, because you can get somewhere down on 78 a whole lot faster than you can 240.
But I always tell people that I am not vacating or abandoning Southaven or DeSoto County.
Oh, we wouldn't let you.
I know you wouldn't. I mean, that's why the handcuffs are on my other arm here. Like, not really.
You're day one on the new job, and you're still here with me. So.
Well, number one, we have family here in the area now. I mean, it could be very easy to just pick up and move to the upper Midwest again, although with the snow they've been having up there, I don't think I want to. People have asked me that question. You ever think about moving back? No, I don't. No, I like it right here. And we have family here in the area. Wife, although she's retiring from school this year, we're still entrenched in this area very well. We've invested, 18 years now, since 2008, here in this area. I really like it here. I really do.
You're almost a Southerner. You've been here just long
That's
enough.
Right, y'all. That's a Norwegian trying to act like a Southerner. It didn't go too well, I know. It's, we really enjoy it here. I do several times think, what would it have been like if I had been living here 20 years before? Yeah. What would it be like? And I kind of like the options here.
I love that. So I want you to speak for a minute about any advice you would give to the next generation. Somebody who is coming in with this idea that I want to go into broadcasting. I know we have groups at like CTC, the little career tech centers here in DeSoto County schools. They have a media department where these kids are learning how to do these broadcasting things and content creation. So what advice would you give to a young person that's looking to go into a career in broadcasting?
Lean on your creativity and lean on your passion. It is, I came into this, sitting in a car radio, burning down the battery, listening to my favorite CKY in Winnipeg, and because I wanted to be a radio guy. It but it evolved into a different manner, but I'm happy with that. I never entered this industry to make a ton of money, but I enjoyed what I was doing. Had a civics teacher in high school that she was very, very strong on this when she said, if you don't like what you're doing, get out. If you don't like what you're doing, get out. I've always liked what I was doing. I moved on to various things, partly because they wanted to make changes. The River Kings went a direction that didn't include me at the time. Television also went a direction that didn't include me. I finally, at the newspaper, decided that it was maybe time to, quote unquote, retire. But then I sat down on a recliner one day and I'm thinking to myself, I know all these people in DeSoto County. I know the mayors. I know the supervisors. I know some of the business leaders. Why can't I tap into that and do my next thing? And that's when DeSoto County News came along. And that's where I've been for 6 years, basically doing the same thing I did for the newspaper, but just in a different venue of being internet. And instead of having one weekly deadline, now I had 7 daily deadlines. Right. I am kind of going back to that weekly deadline thing in Holly Springs, but at the same time, in journalism, you got to get involved and you got to build trust.
Yeah.
One thing that I like to say a lot of times when I look at a story that includes 2 different sides is that you have to present both sides fairly. And I will do a candidacy story, for instance, about so-and-so becoming the next dog catcher or whatever, but I will never put that story out unless I list all the other candidates for dog catcher. I balance it out. You got to have balance. You've got to have trust. One of the things I'm learning in Holly Springs now is that they need to see me. They need to see me on the main street. They need to see me at the meetings. They need to have me call them and go, hey, can I sit down and chat with you for a little bit about what's going on, that kind of thing. People need to see me as I'm now the face of the South Reporter.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things I've been trying to do here since I committed to this next adventure in my life.
But that's no change because you're just continuing what you've been doing forever because you literally have been everywhere and done everything. And those relationships are strong. And you have a knack for getting people to tell you just anything and everything because you are open and you just communicate so well that this has been an incredible journey. And I'm really glad that you sent me your resume, even though it's like the formal thing, but it reads like this 2 decades of adventures. Like your resume.
Only 2?
Well, okay. So it started. You didn't go all the way back to the 70s. It was like 88.
Yeah.
Like it started in 88. So that's 3, 4. Gosh, I just can't count. Yeah. Anyway, but it does. It reads like a story of adventures. Yeah. I love that.
Be willing also to try different things. that would be another bit of advice. Be willing to try different things. And your comment earlier about, oh, you seem to be everywhere. One of the best compliments I ever heard while covering items for DeSoto County News. So we'd be at a ribbon cutting, for instance, or a groundbreaking or whatever, and somebody would come up to me and say, Bob, you just seem to be at everything. I don't see the other people out here at all, but you seem to be here at everything. And I say, well, I haven't figured out a way to clone myself 4 times yet, so I can be at everything. I'm not 100%, but I'm working at it because I know the importance of being involved and being a part of the people that I am covering and writing about.
And that makes a huge difference. That means a lot to those people when you do come out there. Because even though it's like, okay, this is a local newspaper, but at the same time, this is a local business. And to have an actual representative that's going to cover that's something that's life-changing to them, for you to take your time to do that and to see the value in it, it's life-changing for them as well.
And I appreciate the emails that I get. So-and-so is going to have a ribbon cutting. So-and-so is going to have this. And I go, well, I may not be able to go to the actual ribbon cutting, but give me a contact of that person of that business. That might make a good feature to find out about what this new business is all about, that we can turn into a story later down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I am really, really excited that you sat down with me today, and I can't wait to hear all about your adventures that are coming with your next line item in your resume. And don't let your wife give you a hard time. You spend at least 6 years almost at every job. So you consistently, you're not being run off. You're not. No, you're doing great. You're doing great things.
Yep. Well, we're excited about, been a lot of changes in our lives, even here in the last year. Son's looking at a possible job change in his culinary world, by the way. He is a chef, and we're hopeful that he might get a kick up in that area. Of course, Miss Jean, Mr. Bob and Miss Jean were always kind of titles that kind of cringed us Midwesterners. You're calling me Mr. Bob, and you're calling Jean Miss Jean. It's like we aged 10 years just by that very mention, because we don't do that up north. Mm-hmm. But we've always enjoyed it.
I've had too many Northerners fuss at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I am born and raised right here in DeSoto County. If you don't even have to be older than me, you're gonna get a Mr. or a Miss, and a yes, ma'am, and a no, sir. It's ingrained in me.
We've enjoyed it. We really have. And, but, she's about to go into retirement and leaving the school after about 25 years, including time in Iowa. So we have something. I just happened to kick into a new career, and I'm excited about it.
That's incredible. Well, we can't wait to follow along with you on your journey.
SouthReporter.com.
There you go. If you haven't checked him out yet, definitely do so. And go ahead and read his first article. He said that he wrote, what is it called?
I'll have a column in the paper I call For What It's Worth. Here are my words for what it's worth. And it was kind of an introductory column, and we'll kind of go from there. For what it's worth.
All right. So definitely check him out. Keep following along for his journey and his information and everything that's going on in our area. You need to hit that subscribe button and don't miss an episode of Southaven Business Beat. Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Southaven Business Beat. Would you like to be a sponsor of Southaven Business Beat? Please email us, info@southavenchamber.com. Be sure to share and subscribe for more business resources.